But no, there it was. It wasn't human anymore. It didn't even resemble human. It was a mass in the shadows, pulsing as the lights covered it. Steam erupted from pustules across its body. Gunfire erupted, 3 sizzling plasma cracks. My ears rang as terror surged, and then 3 more, and then more. They kept shooting and shooting. The sobs pulled me from the haze. They sounded wet and gurgling, like fluid bubbling through clogged veins. And they echoed from the bathroom, muffled yet insistent, laced with a synthetic whine that hummed playfully inside my skull. I groaned. My neck felt stiff, as though I had fused with old, cold metal. And when I tried to roll over in the narrow bed, sleep clung to me like a failed implant. Still, the sound refused to release its hold. It was desperate, shameful, and disoriented in a way that throbbed through my neural link, a disorder of the greatest magnitude, disheveling everything inside of my head. But there was one thing that was holding it together. It was her. It's her, I muttered, half asleep, my throat raw and constricted. My partner? Whatever's wrong. I forced myself up and nearly tumbled off the edge. My feet slapped against the cold floor. The hallway stretched unnaturally long before me, its walls pulsing faintly under the dim glow of bioluminescent strips, corporate perks from the augmentation program. The bathroom door gaped open, but no light spilled out. I should have installed better sensors, but after the procedure, everything had begun to feel redundant. A fresh choke sliced through my thoughts. I peered inside, feeling like an intruder in my own space. Shadows writhed across the tiled room, which was resembled with a sterile chamber, more of a home bathroom. There she was, curled fetal in the shower stall with a curtain half drawn, her skin glistening with the slick sheen, her hair matted like overgrown filaments, and her knees were hugged tightly to her chest while her body quivered as though it were rejecting a graft. "Hey," I whispered, my hand hovering near the light panel, hesitating. The ambient glow from my charging neural dot cast a slightly green hue across the space, just enough for me to glimpse her eyes peeking through the tangle of hair, wide, iridescent, with pupils dilating unnaturally. Everything all right?" My body felt displaced, not fully synced yet. This was supposed to be our home, and she was... "No?" She answered, her voice cracked, a whimper laced with static. I know it's nothing, didn't want to bother you." I slid down the wall until I was leveled with her across the stall's edge. "Listen," I rasped, my voice glitching from the vocal enhancer. "You haven't been comfortable talking about it." My neck burned as constriction spread like inflamed tissue, but I fought the rasp and kept consoling her. My linked partner fused to me through the company's experimental program. "I could tell them," I offered. "Let them hear it from me. They won't judge you." She laughed bitterly, but the sound quickly warped into a sob. "So everyone thinks we're both glitching." Her eyes met mine directly for the first time in days, and the contact sharpened everything. The entire week of descent suddenly focused with painful clarity. A week earlier, I had woken alone and sensed a presence, like a rogue signal hijacking my neural feed. Gravity had seemed to warp, and proximity alerts fired frantically inside my head. She had dismissed it as a glitch, some born of neural paralysis from the splice. But the nights only worsened. She would wake me claiming intrusions, stares from the void, looming data ghosts. I had felt touches too, slick tendrils sliding over skin, intimate yet invasive, like viral code injecting itself. One night, I thought the touch belonged to her, but she had already retreated to the couch because our bed had grown too confined with the swelling mass. It wasn't just sensations. Mornings revealed decay. I grew thinner, my veins bulging blue-black and my eyes hollowed out. The mirror, my urine streamed dark, laced with crimson flecks as biomarkers screamed infection. Coughs brought speckled blood and tissue flecks that wriggled faintly. Too exhausted to work, I had asked her to call in for me. Her voice remained steady over the link while I decayed. That was why she hid here now, sobbing in the dark. Maybe a med scan, I suggested. It could be a viral splice or fungal overgrowth from the AUG. She laughed again, the sound hollow. You don't believe that, and neither do I. It was the truth. In the early days, there had been only eerie glitches and spooky feedback. But then the nights elongated and hallucinations bloomed, amorphous shapes clinging to us, gene-splicing limbs grasping with eager hunger. I would scream silently while she shook me free, yet the presence lingered, emerging as I drowsed and feeded through our neural ports. We both knew something was visiting us, draining us via the biolinks with delicate probes that soon turned to caresses, grips, and siphons. There were no visible wounds, but our essence was being leached, vitality and sanity alike. I wanted to pull her close, yet instinct screamed danger, cross-contamination. As dreams dragged me under, I felt paralyzed and helpless. She couldn't help me, yet her presence still comforted me, and I felt ashamed of my weakness. She opened her mouth to speak. Pounding shattered the quiet, harsh and rhythmic at the front door. We froze, her eyes widened, irises flicking like failing hollow screens. "No!" She moaned, shrinking back while staring through the walls as though scanning for threats. "No, no, no, no!" Tears streaming down her face, glowing bioluminescent in the green light. I hauled myself up, my body leaden and my neck fusing tighter. Voices barked outside, muffled by the reinforced panels. Corporate security, perhaps. Fog clouded my mind as my breaths labored through phlegm-thick lungs. The pounding intensified until the door vibrated. I stumbled forward, wheezing assurances that dissolved into nothing. She vanished from view, silent. The door buckled under repeated kicks from multiple assailants. I reeled back as blinding light exploded inward, searing like sterilization beams. The hallway blazed with sunlight, amplified through blacked-out windows. The door splintered completely. Uniformed figures stormed in with visors down and weapons humming with energy clips. They weren't police. They were corporate enforcers, their logos glinting. Next-gen biolabs. Christ! The reek! One gagged while sweeping his rifle through the dark. Biohazard levels off the charts! I collapsed as gravity pulled me into contorting shadow, though the light still stabbed my eyes and my body felt impossibly heavy. Subject Warren! The lead barked. Next-gen retrieval team, we're here to... They halted abruptly. Jesus! Guns trained on every corner while beams illuminated horrors. Walls smeared with viscous residue. Handprints pressed into gelatinous ooze and crimson veins threading through the plaster like invasive growths. Call it in! The leader snapped into his communicator. Another containment breach. Subject's apartment compromised. The landlord hovered outside, babbling about unpaid rent, weeks of silence, and strange odors seeping through. I rasped a wheeze, finding dark humor in the fact that the bastard would probably bill me for the door. A beam pinned me, burning. Got him, bioscan now. Hand seized me and dragged me into the light. Smells assaulted my senses, rot, coppery blood, acrid bile, and synthetic decay. I choked as bile rose weakly. Easy, Warren, one soothed frantically. Containment protocol. Others advanced with rifles ready. No! The scream in my mind. It was no longer coming from the shower as I looked over and there was nothing there. Was it all in my mind? But no, there it was. It wasn't human anymore. It didn't even resemble human. It was a mass in the shadows, pulsing as the lights covered it. Steam erupted from pustules across its body. Gunfire erupted, 3 sizzling plasma cracks. My ears rang as terror surged, and then 3 more, and then more. They kept shooting and shooting. And that is how they found her and shot her helpless form. Shots fired! Breach entity engaged! There was something in there! One yelled, as what used to be my partner, the sludge of the remaining composition falling apart from the plasma blast that burned and oozed it into a pile of mush and death. Mutated mass in the bathroom! My attendant examined me. Holy shit, augmentations failed hard, gashes everywhere, tissue necrosis! Cried out for her help, but it's as if I was no longer alive, dead inside of my own body. Relax, man. Medivac is incoming, another called out. Santos, bathroom's a nightmare, tubs filled with biosludge. Claw marks on the porcelain fingers elongated like gene splice rejects, just bone pouring out of the flesh. Biosludge. They had evaporated her and vaporized her. You think he triggered it? One asked, nodding at me. Self-aug experiment gone rogue? Idiot. Look at him, drained like the other test subjects. You're one who blasted shadows. Sweep the remnants. No survivors if compromised. They ransacked the place while exhaustion claimed me. Everything burned, everything blurred, everything fell from my vision, red lights spinning into a confined pod, and then vertigo into darkness. Sedatives flooded my veins and I relaxed into dreams. And she was there beside me, unreachable, her sobs echoing faintly in the haze. Awareness flickered later in a dim room with white sheets and a larger bed framed by medbay rails. An IV stung my hand. I sighed and drifted, voices intruding, but I didn't care. I was trying to sleep, wake it off. It was all a dream, wasn't it? She wasn't gone. She was still here. A call pulled me back. Warren. The voice was strong and careful. My eyes opened to blurred light, my tongue desert dry. What? Good, you're awake. The outline sharpened into what might have been a doctor. A lot of help he'll be. At least he's alive. Another countered. That's progress. Bullshit, 90 pounds soaking wet, lacerations like talon grafts. Fingers, but augmented, deep dug in. Healed over the scabs, but ongoing stretching like the claws. Look, he signed up for the program, the neural symbiote for enhanced cognition. We haven't seen anything this bad in a while, but it is in the disclaimer that things can go wrong, but you're supposed to report it. He dropped himself off the grid. He's paid his rent on auto. He was alone in that hole, with no checks. I like the others, a third voice added. Fine. The test group commemorability, maybe black market mods. Where's my partner? I mumbled inwardly. Targeting isolates. They continued. Wounds suggest symbiotic attachment, caressed then invaded. Landlord smelled decayed. Smelled decay. That's what he said. Landlord smelled decay. Saw leaks. Hadn't seen 'em in a month. No kid. None. Lone operator. Any link? Spouse equivalent? I craved sleep. I was trying to reach out, but nothing in me would move. Where was my partner? He's the incel type. Quiet and self-destructive. Detective? Hey, so many rogue AIs picked his profile, spliced in for kicks. Sarcasm dripped. Why'd your team plasma the tub? Better safe. The entity on the loose? We don't need any of that. Yeah, we definitely have to contain this. If he has any way of knowing if there was anyone else, we'll get to the bottom of this. I'd had enough, and oblivion beckoned me. She came that night, curling around me in the med bed. Her sobs sounded husky and choked like fluid trapped in lungs. Are you? She whispered, and I was feeling my brain. Something was wrong. I couldn't touch it, but I could feel it there, cool and enveloping. Shh, it's okay, I said. It's okay. You're okay. Her voice soothed me as the dark room pulsed. I don't have to pretend anymore. She sounded apologetic while her fingers, multiple and tendril-like, grazed through the sheets and into my skin. It was pretty. She cooed. Feeling it all, sympathy, need, shame. It keeps you coherent. Tones washed over me as relief mixed with dread and pain and something deeper. Another limb dragged across my leg and a wet, probing tongue slid up my cheek. Blood rushed while my heart hammered erratically. It was too much. Many hands mapped me. My contours, the old breaches, were digits that pierced and stretched flesh. I like you best. She murmured intimately as fingers flexed beneath my skin and nails bit in. My body convulsed and a moan escaped. I'll miss you. The kiss sealed it. My heart stuttered and stopped. But death didn't stick. Woke in restraint with monitors beeping wildly inside a next-gen lab. Sterile, white, and humming with machines. My body had changed. Skin translucent, veins throbbing with iridescent fluid. Neck fused, head immobile. Senses were amplified until every hum vibrated in my bones. A tech hovered, scanning. Symbiote integration at 80%. He's stabilizing. No! I rasped. Get it out! She laughed inside my head, her voice now mine. We're linked, darling. Corporate gift. A flashback struck, signing for the trial. The neural symbiote bioengineered from gene-splicing organisms, promising enhanced cognition and empathy links. But it was alive, hungry, and burrowing deeper. What I had mistaken for a partner was the entity itself, manifesting in my mind and feeding on my isolation. I thrashed against the restraints. My alarms blared. Sedate him! Needles pierced into my skin, but she resisted, flooding me with adrenaline. My limbs twitched unnaturally while fingers elongated and nails sharpened. Containment breach! Guards rushed in, but we lunged, claws raked flesh and blood sprayed. Screams echoed as we tore free. My body mutated, extra appendages sprouted, skin split to reveal chitinous plates. The hallways blurred while pursuit pounded behind us. Subject escape, bioweapon active! We crashed into vents as she guided me. Deeper, love, merge fully! Visions assaulted me, hallucinations from failing links, showing corporate boardrooms birthing abominations, splicing human DNA with cosmic parasites harvested from deep space probes. It wasn't enhancement, it was control. Symbiotes designed to enslave minds and turn bodies into vessels for elder bioentities, beginning with isolates like me as ground zero. My legs buckled and reformed longer and jointed. Pain seared, then ecstasy followed. her pleasure in the change. Security cornered us in a lab wing. Freeze! Plasma scorched the air, but we dodged with tendrils lashed out and injected spores. Guards convulsed as their skin bubbled and new growths erupted. Evacuate! Viral spread! We burst through the window into the city night. Pursuit drones hummed and spotlights pinned us. Land! She whispered. Hide, girl! Alley shadows swallowed us as my body collapsed into fever dreams. Flesh ripped while organs shifted, my heart now dual-chambered and pumping hybrid blood. The morning brought hunger. We stalked and found a vagrant, tendrils extended, piercing skin and siphoning essence. He withered with glazing eyes while we fed, integrating his biomass, his loneliness fueling our growth. Stronger now, the corporate hunters closed in with vans screeching and agents in biosuits. Fight! She urged. We charged, claws rendering, suits and fluids mixing. One agent's mask cracked, spores invading, and screams turned to gurgles as flesh melted eternally. But numbers overwhelmed us. Nets deployed and electropulses fried nerves. We fell, twitching, back in containment, strapped to a slab and vivisected alive. Scalpels peeling skin, revealing her. The pulsating mass fused to my spine with tendrils threading every nerve. Remarkable, the surgeon murmured. The symbiotes evolved self-replicating. Pain crescendoed as they excised chunks, but she regenerated. Vines burst from incisions and strangled the team. Chaos erupted. Alarms, gunfire. We rose, half-dissected organs trailing, yet knitting in anew. Corridors ran red as we consumed and grew, body ballooning with stolen mass, limbs multiplying, eyes sprouting on stalks. The elevator carried us to the surface. The city awaited. She revealed the truth. Not one symbiote, but a legion. Corporate had unleashed a pandemic, twisting humanity into hives and starting with the isolated and forgotten. We emerged into daylight as crowds scattered, tendrils whipped outward, infecting dozens. Bodies convulsed and merged into grotesque amalgamations. Pursuit choppers roared overhead with missiles incoming. We leapt, augmented legs propelling us skyward. We latched onto buildings, climbed and evolved wings from our scalpels, membranous and veined. Flight was erratic, but we were free. Below, the infection spread. People clawed at their skin and birthed horrors. Her voice became choral. We're eternal, love, the cosmic seed. Dread peaked as my mind fractured and humanity dissolved in a nightmarish biomass. In a final plunge, we dove toward the chopper blades, whirling close. Impact came, exploding in gore. Spores scattered on the wind, seeding anew. In the end, I lingered, not dead, but dispersed. A creeping realization settled. The symbiote wasn't the horror. We were. And the descent never ends, as humanity is turned into its true face, bubbling to the surface as the city sobbed, wet and gurgling like fluid bubbling through clogged veins, as a merge began, echoing the cries that had first awakened me to our shared fate. If you enjoyed this technology gone awry story, hit the like button, but not too hard. You don't want to wind up on its bad side. Subscribe if you're new and turn on all those notifications, and if technology allows, we will meet again.